haven't made a video in a long time. And a big part of the reason for that is that I didn't want to give any feedback to the system that is analyzing us all in real time to gauge our reactions. I didn't want to feed it. I wanted to starve it of information about me. Although I haven't really been doing a good job, because I've been commenting a lot of my thoughts on other people's videos. So I imagine it knows a great deal about what I think. And on one of those videos, it's a funny thing that so many of us, many of you who are listening to my voice now, we tend to have similar tastes in the kind of people that we listen to, the kind of videos that we subscribe to, or video creators that we subscribe to. And that unnerves me. I mean, of course, it gives comfort to know that there's others out there like me. But it discomforts me to see how easily we've been sorted by the system, because it has suggested these channels to us, of course. Most of them. I mean, some of them, it seems like we've come across them by just, happenstance. But something that's unnerved me in my life is that people I've met, encounters that I've had, seemingly just by random chance, later when I think back to them, it has really unnerved me when I begin to wonder whether those chance meetings, seemingly chance meetings at least, maybe weren't. And then I wonder, am I really being played by a fool here? And is part of my arrogance in thinking that my life is just not charted out for me, but set up ahead, just like a roadblock is set up on the only road that goes anywhere. And that I then arrogantly think, oh, well, I had all these choices of side roads to take, but what were the chances of me arriving here at this point, when it's almost inevitable? So I don't like to feel like I've been tricked, because part of the sting of the trick is that you think that you could have avoided it, or that it was especially for you. And I can't really finish that thought because I've sort of tied myself up in some kind of logical knots there. Also, I do too many preambles, or at least my preambles are too long. And then I'm always sort of prompting myself, hey, get to the point. So I'm just going to skip to it. One of these people that I happened to meet, I want to say some words to him that I hope are going to help him or undo any damage that I may have done by talking to him over messages on a video, comments, which maybe if I'd never commented to him, well, I was going to say maybe he wouldn't be in the position that he's in now, or saying that he's going to. I thought it would be best to cut this part out, but read the screen for a clue if you don't guess already what I'm talking about. This feels like an emergency, and I don't exactly remember the video. Either I found his comment or he found my comment, and we had a small discussion, and then it was interesting enough that I said I must subscribe to him, or maybe he subscribed to me, and then I said, right, well, I must subscribe to him too. Anyhow, shortly thereafter, he made a video. It was talking about a lot of the things that I see a lot of you, I'm going to say, make videos about, which is pondering on not only the meaning of this particular long drawn out punishing event that we're all going through, but also the meaning of our lives and all other events we've been witness to, if not part of, throughout our lives. It's been a rude awakening in a sense for a lot of us. Not that many of us were very much asleep at all, but it has really, I think, brought things to an acute point. And it has been so trying on all of us that we have been tested, I think, to our limits. Um, and it seems that I'm going to say his name. He's given his name. I think I won't give his video name, but I'll say that he told me that his name was Kevin. And it seems that Kevin has reached that point now. And I think that one of the reasons anyway, which I didn't want to make any more videos for, was because I was going to have to talk about this as well. And when he said in a comment on a video that he made where he spoke about a premonition that he had had of an event that happened approximately 19 years ago now in New York, a very vivid and prescient premonition that he'd had, a dream that he'd had, where he was in an office building. He was on the phone, tied to his phone. I think he said literally that his tie was wrapped around the cord of the phone. And I can empathize being in a grey, partitioned office, open plan, but partitioned by these grey, like office space partitions, and being tethered to your phone. I can definitely imagine it there. If anyone's seen the film Office Space, you can imagine it. Because I'm not so sure. I mean, the 90s was just so, I was going to say, marked by the types of offices that look like these. I don't think now in the modern era, no, it was modern in the 90s. I don't think in the current era, that offices quite look like this. They're more styled with brushed aluminium and less partitions, but people are closer together, I think. Well, at least they were before they pretended that we all had to then sit further apart again for this idiotic reason. Anyway, I wanted to, show Kevin that we seem to be of similar ages, we have similar experiences, but of course, what's the point in empathizing with somebody? You want them to know that you are going through a similar thing, but I didn't want to make videos because I didn't want the AI to know what I was going through. You know what I mean? And I didn't want him to know. I mean, because I figure like it doesn't help. When he said that, he'd reached the end of it now and that something had happened in his childhood to him, had been done to him by people, he didn't specify. The kind of thing that happens to children that is abhorrent. I can't empathize there. If that ever happened to me, then I've totally forgotten about it. But there were aspects of my childhood that I didn't appreciate looking back on. But I think my parents did their best. But although we grew up in different countries, actually I thought he was Canadian at first from his accent, but just North USA near the Great Lakes. Maybe I shouldn't even say what state. Although maybe he doesn't care, because he's saying that he's going to, he said he was going to make a final video and then depart. I mean, I didn't know what to say. I sometimes if you sort of say, please don't go, please don't do it, that sets somebody off more. If you, I mean, I was going to say particularly for a man, but I don't know. And maybe I will say, to empathize, I will say how brokenhearted I am and why. One of the reasons I am. But I should finish the thought. I always do this. I skip from one thought to the next without finishing or completing the idea that I was wanting to flesh out. I was about to say there that it seems to me, and I think it's true, that if somebody is saying that they want to go and you plead with them, please don't go, don't do it, that just amplifies their feeling that they have of self-pity, which I'm not denigrating, I'm not saying isn't justified, but it doesn't, if my objective is to say, please don't go, that can make things worse. But at the same time, I don't want to feel unsympathetic. Anyway, in the comments to him yesterday, I scrubbed back a few times. I didn't want it to seem encouraging by being encouraging in the wrong way, if you know what I mean. So I didn't indulge him too much. But I did say, look, I'm here if you want to talk. I stayed awake for a bit longer, but where I am, it's a few hours ahead. And I woke up this morning and I checked, YouTube notifications, no messages from him. I checked his channel and his content was deleted. All his videos. So therefore all our comments are deleted. All our conversation as it went in sequence on one or two comments under his videos. And I don't think that there's any way of messaging somebody directly if they don't have a video or if they don't have a comment section that's open or something. And I don't know if he's subscribed to me, but I hope that he is and that he might hear this and that I'm not making it worse again. And as I say, I haven't been wanting to tell any of my stories because I didn't want the AI to know about me and therefore know how to manipulate me better. But it seems that Kevin and I were born, although a long number of great. I don't even want. That's the thing. I don't want to say how many thousands of miles, but I will say thousands of miles apart. Overall, the backdrop of our lives would have been similar. I'm going to say growing up around a time period. Maybe our exact lives weren't the same, but there's something in common that I think people who grew up in a similar time period share. Something about the culture of the time. And it was very different to now. Even if certainly life wasn't perfect. And certainly there was a lot of bad people out there. And certainly there was a lot of things going on that we didn't recognize. But the percentage, I think, of good to bad was better. So, what am I trying to do here? Well, I'm laughing there because I don't want to make it any worse. I'm trying to say, please don't do it. But what I don't want to admit is that I've thought about it a lot as well. And what are the reasons that I can offer for not doing it? When your heart is broken, and when the world doesn't seem to be giving you any indication that there's going to be any future worth waiting around for, then what reasons do I have other than my own selfish reasons to say, please don't go because it would just break my heart even more? And what are the reasons that I don't have for doing the same myself? I'm struggling to come up with any. It could be just cowardice or just, a kind of apathy, a kind of laziness that I actually don't have the get up and go to get up and leave, And maybe I won't tell any individual stories, but what Kevin described, that, well, he didn't really describe, but he said what happened to him in his childhood. As I say, that didn't happen to me. But I have been let down by people. And I think that there's no need to go into it, because this doesn't need to be about me. I don't think at this stage, and it's long, I've made this long enough now, where I don't even have time, I think, to go into illustrative stories about how my heart has been broken in different ways by different people. And in ironic ways. Ways that sort of show you that the phrase, no good deed goes unpunished, is very, very true. That if I'd simply not tried to do any good, things would be a lot better. Which starts you to go down this self-pitying road that, well, if maybe I'd never been born and never tried to put any good into the world, that the net effect would have been positive. And already I can feel myself, feeling a bit sorry for myself there. Look, the thing is that I don't know if any of us have someone in our lives that will listen to us and say, like maybe I used to have in my life, will listen to me, acknowledge that, yeah, I've been hard done by in a way, right? They feel some pity or some compassion. They express compassion for me, and then they tell me, right, you've felt sorry for yourself now for a while, but that's enough now. Dry your eyes, mate. Get up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. So they don't indulge me anymore, and they just tell me, get up now. Wash your face, get dressed properly, go out, face the world, and hold your head up, and, be positive. Do something. Do right action. Keep going. I'm not going to listen to you anymore talking about how the world has done you wrong. I don't have anybody else in my life now anymore to give me the positive pep talk after being sort of cruel to be kind. Not indulging me too much, but, being sympathetic, which I certainly am. But what reasons can I give you? And I don't know, really. I'm just saying, please stick around until we think of some. And if you're saying to me that you must go because of the things that somebody else did to you when you were young, well, that's not a good reason enough to go. And if you're saying to me, okay, but in addition to that, I have made, I don't know if you said too many mistakes or all the mistakes that's possible to make, right, well, I will agree with you there. I will sympathize with you there. I will tell you that my experience is the same. I feel that I've made all the mistakes now, or enough of them, or too much of them, where I feel that the pain which is gnawing away at me pretty much constantly, where I feel like if only I had a time machine, I would go back and correct those things, even though I've thought about the time machine thing for so many years and thought to myself, no, I do know that doing such a thing without having to go back and prove it to myself, if such a thing existed, that it would be futile. That, like some kind of horror that plays out through a story, a morality play, that I would find that each time the perfect future that I had tried to create would slip through my fingers like an ether that I couldn't grasp, that every time I thought that I would come back to the new future, the future heaven that I had created for myself, where all the decisions that I had made in the past were perfect, were the right ones, and that therefore all the people around me were happy and pleased with me and liked me and were grateful for all the great things that I'd done in the past. No, I would find that it would be a horror show as well. And that the lesson of life is that there are no perfect choices to be made. Maybe ones that you can live with yourself for having made. I think I always thought that if there was an afterlife where I had a consciousness, where I could no longer take any actions, but just simply live in the knowledge that I had tried to do my best. I think, yes, look, overall, I have tried to do my best. But look, as I said, this is not about me. But despite having tried, there were times where I didn't know. Or my emotions got the better of me and clouded my judgment. I'm saying these things just so you know. I think it's going to help that you know that I've had similar experiences, that there's somebody else out there, that there are maybe other people out there that aren't different from you, that feel the same. And that maybe maybe I can't think of a great reason why you shouldn't do what you're saying you're going to do. But I'm asking you to please stick around and let us talk about it. And see if we can't find a reason why you shouldn't.